Hello. I'm gonna try to wrap up my cancer journey video this morning before I open our playground for the public. Um, if you have not watched my last video, I will link it below. I would start with the first video, and then come back and watch this one because it's not gonna really make sense if you haven't watched the first part of my cancer journey. My name is Heather Dearmore. I am the owner, along with my husband, of Colors of the Alphabet Indoor Playground in North Richland Hills, Texas. And I am an autism mom. And this video is about my cancer journey as an autism mom, not necessarily having to do with our playground, but it's just part of my story leading up to opening our playground, and just sharing how Acacia handled my cancer journey. So in my last video, I finished up with New Year's Day. I woke up. I'm just going to give you a brief overview if you haven't watched my last video, and just to kind of remind you if you watched it a few days ago. I was diagnosed with cancer in November of 2019. Acacia was diagnosed with autism in February of 2019. So we had bookends of the year 2019 of both diagnoses for us. So I had a rhabdomyosarcoma in my upper humerus in my bone, which is very rare. Usually sarcomas are rare, rhabdos are even more rare. And then the fact that my rhabdomyosarcoma started in the bone instead of the soft tissue like it normally does made me an even more rare case. So my oncologist had to create a cocktail of chemos because there was not a certain protocol for my kind of cancer. Like if you were to have breast cancer, there would probably be a very strict protocol that an oncologist could look up. And then like the osteosarcomas, they had a certain protocol that they would do. But because mine was so rare and it had started in the bone, my oncologist had to go and do a bunch of research and mix a bunch of different chemos for me. So luckily fortunately, I don't believe in luck anymore. I sometimes slip out the word luckily, but I don't believe in luck. So I always correct myself when I do that. But I do believe that everything that happened on my journey was because of God. So it was not luck. I'm going to correct myself there. I did not take notes for part 2. I took many notes for part 1, and then I just decided to go ahead and do part 2 on my own memory. But let me see if I had taken any real quick. Sorry, I woke up this morning and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go into the playground and try to wrap this up. Yep, my last note is woke up on New Year's Day with a clump of hair on my pillow. So New Year's Day 2020, I woke up with a clump of hair on my pillow and I just decided, let's do this. Let's go ahead and shave my head today. So my daughter, while she was taking her nap, we went outside in the backyard of my parents' house, and my dad shaved his head along with me. And my husband at the time, my ex-husband, he shaved his head with me. And then a few days later, my brother, who was in Seattle, sent a video, and he also shaved his head. I wish I knew how to, maybe one day I'll be able to learn how to insert video clips and pictures, and I can get all high tech, but I'm still new to YouTube. So you're just gonna have to trust me on that. But it was a pretty awesome video where my brother was just like greeting me, like giving me well wishes, and he was just talking to me. And then all of a sudden, like his wife comes up and like shaves the middle part. Like it surprised me. It took me off guard, but I cried because it was just so sweet of him to do that for me. So I was mostly concerned about looking sick. I didn't want people to pity me. I knew that I had cancer, but I didn't want people to see me in the store and think, oh, she has cancer. Like I didn't want to look like a cancer patient. I also was worried about how Acacia would handle it if I shaved my head. But when she woke up from her nap, she saw me and said, "Mommy," and smiled. And I was like, okay, it's okay. My friend in Tennessee, Rachel, she ordered me a wig after I had shaved my head. And in February, I'm jumping around now, but in February, she sent me a wig, and she let me pick it out, and it was really pretty. And I put it on, and I remember I came downstairs. I had it on with like a little ball cap, and I remember Acacia saw me, and her eyes just lit up. And I think for her, she was like, "There's my mommy," because it had been a while since she had seen me with hair, and it was about a month and a half later after I'd shaved my head. So anyways, I she didn't act any differently towards me, but I think she was aware that mommy looks different. But fortunately, she, um, was good with it, so didn't really affect her negatively, and I am grateful for that. Okay, so January, I had an outpatient chemo, that was chemo number 2. December, I forgot to mention in my last video, but when I had chemo inpatient, so my first chemo was inpatient at UCLA Santa Monica. It's 5 nights of chemo and 6 days. So I was in the hospital for 6 days, 5 nights, and you're getting chemo for those 5 nights. It is very, very intense. In January, I had round 2, and it was outpatient, so it's just you go into the Santa Monica office, and you have a beautiful view. You're high up in the building, and you have a beautiful view of the ocean. If you get a good window for your, treatment, you get a good chair. But, that one was a quick chemo. You just go there for the day and then come back, and I would get a shot called Neulasta. When you're in the hospital, they would give it to me as I was leaving, and then when you're outpatient, you go over to another building and they put it on your body. They put it on my lower abdomen, and it just kinda sticks, it kinda looks like a little, it's like a plastic, it has a needle in it, so 24 hours after you finish your last chemo, it beeps, and then it injects medicine, and it's supposed to help your white blood cells rise after chemo. So it prevented me from ever needing to be rushed to the hospital. I never had any like emergency where I had to be admitted for being sick or anything like that. So it helped me stay well. It did cause bone pain. So after chemo, you have tons of nausea, you can't eat, you feel sick, and then on top of it, 24 hours later, you're getting some really, really bad bone pain and feeling achy. So that was fun, but it helped me stay well. So I was grateful for it. Let's see. So I had mentioned in my last video, I had lost like 19 pounds in between rounds 1 and 2. We got my anti-nausea meds taken care of, so I was able to eat more. My oncologist told my dad, if she is craving something, get it for her. If she wants ice cream, have her eat ice cream. His main concern was to keep me eating calories, to keep me healthy, and to keep my strength up. So believe me, everyone sent me all different sorts of diets and things that I should be doing, and do keto, do vegan, do plant, do raw, do just juice, just like raw, fresh juice. And um, so many things, people telling me like sugar feeds cancer and all these things. And it's a lot because there's so much information out there, and when you're a cancer patient, you're very vulnerable and you want to know what the best thing to do is. But from my experience and what I tell people now, if they ask me or if they're looking for any sort of advice, I just tell them what my oncologist told me, and if you're craving something and you can actually eat it, then I would eat it. So after that, I'm not an ice cream eater. I don't ever really crave ice cream, very rarely. I'm more of a, like, vanilla cake with frosting person. But during my cancer treatment, after my oncologist told my dad, "Let her have ice cream if she wants ice cream," I ate ice cream almost every night after that. I have a bowl of ice cream before bed, or frozen. We'd go to like the frozen yogurt shop and get ice creams, or frozen yogurt, which is basically ice cream. I remember I had birthday cake ice cream in the freezer at all times. So that was pretty fun, because I just don't allow myself to do that. I rarely have dessert, and I definitely allowed myself to indulge during chemo. But my biggest thing, and I'll get to this, but my biggest takeaway from cancer is that God was my healer. I don't need a specific diet. I don't need to restrict myself from certain things in order to heal my cancer or cure my cancer. It was God that did it for me. So I didn't really worry too much about diet. And now that I'm on this side of cancer, I'm constantly trying to eat healthy just because of my weight and just making sure I stay healthy for my daughter. But as far as cancer goes, I didn't worry about what I was eating. So, because I wasn't eating very much to begin with. Also, another thing on food, when I was eating, when I was in chemo, like my friend, my best friend of 30, my goodness, how many years? 36 years now. She made me a care package. She was so sweet, and she sent me like my favorite sour cherries that I had eaten since I was a little girl. I would always get them at Disneyland, and as I got older, I found them like when I started driving, I found them in the gas station, and I was like, wait, these are in gas stations? Like I thought this was only sold at Disneyland because we would go to Disneyland so much when I was a kid. So I was always excited to get my sour cherries on Main Street, and then I realized, "Oh, I can get them at the gas station." So anyways, she sent me a care package, and one of the things was sour cherries, and I cannot eat sour cherries anymore. I haven't had them in years, because of that reason, because I ate them while I was in the chemo chair. Because 'cause you're always like, "I'm about to be sick and I'm not gonna be able to eat for a few days." So as you're getting the chemo, you're like, "Oh, I better have a snack real quick." Like, I remember one time when I was doing an inpatient chemo, my mom ran and grabbed me a Chinese chicken salad from across the street. And even now, like that specific Chinese chicken salad makes me a little mm, like a little nauseous. Um, and then the sour cherries for sure. I cannot eat sour cherries anymore, so it ruined it for me. And also bean and rice burritos. I loved bean and rice burritos. I think now I would be a little iffy about them because there was a place that had them downstairs, and my mom would get me one before we would leave chemo. And now haven't had one of those in a while. So, anyways, okay, so that was round 2. Round 3 was inpatient. My dad was there for me for that one. It was in February. My mom and dad rotated, so one of them was always with Acacia, one of them was always with me. So if I had an outpatient, one of them would drive me. If I had an inpatient, one of them would stay with me, and then the other one was with Acacia. Um, so after my round 3 or 4, because I had 5 rounds before my surgery. I wanna say my last round, round 5, right before surgery, I believe all the COVID shutdowns had already started happening, so I had to do that one by myself, and I think it was outpatient. See, I should have taken notes. But anyways, I did 5 rounds of chemo before my surgery. My surgery was in April of 2020, and right before my surgery, we had a meeting with my surgeon, Dr. Bernthal, and it was me and my dad on the call, and we had to do it over the phone because of COVID. We weren't allowed to go into the office anymore with him. So we were asking him questions, and he was going over everything with me. He had said that because I was really worried about range of motion. His physician's assistant had told me at one appointment, she was like, "You know, you'll never have full range of motion again, right?" Like she was like dead serious. And I just thought, okay. She like kind of scared me. And I remember my dad telling me, like, don't listen to what she says. Like, don't let her change your thought process on this whole thing. Um, but the whole point of my surgeon doing my surgery the way that he did was so that I would have better range of motion. So in that meeting where we spoke with him, he had said range of motion is hard to determine at this point because it all depends on what it looks like when I go in there. Because if he has to take muscle, then that will affect my range of motion. So I very specifically prayed, and I had my best friend pray specifically for my range of motion. And I remember after that phone call, my dad was I like when we hung up that call, he was like emotional, and like I think it was hitting him that like I was about to go under and have surgery, and like major surgery. It was just we had been through chemo and everything, but I think this was an even bigger part of it, like hitting him. So I do remember he got a little um, emotional after that call. So for the day of my surgery, My parents both drove me. Acacia was home with her dad at my parents' house. My parents drove me. I had to do it all on my own. My mom was able to walk me into the like, only one of them could walk me in. My mom walked me into the lobby and she read me a devotional and we prayed and then they took me back and I was all by myself. That was just the worst part of all of this was I said losing my hair already. Losing my hair was really tough. But then having to do all of these major surgeries and long chemos by yourself was it was brutal. So I had to have surgery by myself. I woke up by myself. You know, there's medical assistants there and everything or nurses, but it's just not the same as having like family there. So I went in to have surgery and I woke up, they brought me to my room, and I had a missed call from my surgeon. He couldn't come and talk to me. He had to call me because of COVID. I never even got to see him that day. It was like they put me under, and then he came into the room. And he had a sports medicine doctor come in and help with the surgery as well. So they took the top half of my humerus and my shoulder joint, and he replaced it with titanium. So I have titanium now in my arm. Let me see if I can, because I don't know how to add it on the screen yet. Sorry. Like I said, the other day when I was driving in, something inside me was saying, just share your story, share your story. So I try to listen to that voice now. So this is my new setup. This is my Instagram. So I'm just going to share a photo with you, but you can see my bone is no longer there. And now there is titanium. So the x-ray tech that had taken my x-ray, he was an x-ray tech for 25 years. And he said he had never seen anything like that. So I definitely have some high tech stuff going on inside me now. It was a very new surgery. It started in Italy. And the weight limit was only 5 pounds. But because I was lifting weights before, I used to like deadlift. My surgeon told me that he didn't want me to change my lifestyle. So he said, just be very careful. So I am very careful. I don't lift heavy anymore. I will be in major pain for days if I lift anything too heavy. So I try to avoid lifting heavy. But I'm very grateful. I have very, very good range of motion. When my surgeon called me that day of my surgery, I asked him, am I cancer free now? And he did say, yes, you are cancer free. So that was amazing to hear. The cancer was gone. There was I want to say 90% necrosis, but I could be wrong. Maybe it was 60%. I do know that there was not as much necrosis as they wanted. I'd have to look it up. I'd have to pull up my old medical records. But the tumor was mostly dead. And I had mentioned in my last video that I was really, really, really wanting surgery right away in November when I was first diagnosed. I was begging my surgeon to just take it out. And he had said, we have to do chemo to try to kill the tumor. Like it just all made sense once I had the surgery. And I had mentioned a minute ago about my muscle. My surgeon had said, you will have range of motion depending on how much muscle I have to take. And I had prayed specifically for that. And my surgeon told me on that phone call that my surgery was textbook and my bone just slid right out. He didn't have to take any muscle, which was just a miracle. So he was amazed at that. And now I have very good range of motion. I used to worry about like, will I ever be able to put my hair up in a ponytail again? And I can do all of that. I guess I can kind of show you, like, I have basically full range of motion. I mean, it doesn't like look normal. I hate the word normal now. When you're looking at me and you know that I have my titanium, my arm does look a little different. My shoulder over here is a little smaller. It's not as rounded out as this one, but if you don't know, I don't think you would notice. So I'm just very grateful for the surgery. It was a very expensive surgery when I got all my bills and my insurance praise the Lord, took care of most of it. I believe my titanium was like $500,000. So it's pretty crazy how expensive medicine is. Um, but I'm alive and I'm here and I'm very grateful. So I need to wrap this up. Let's see. I had 5 more rounds of chemo. I could go on and on and on. I don't want to make a part 3, but maybe I have to. I had 5 more rounds of chemo after surgery, but after surgery, you have to wait about a month before you can have chemo again, because your wound has to heal completely. So my hair started growing back a little bit. I had like a little buzz cut, and I was so excited to have hair again. It was like peach fuzz. And then I had to go back and have chemo again, and I remember that first day that I was going back for chemo, it was round 6. I was so upset. I just didn't wanna leave my daughter. I didn't wanna go. I was just like, "No, like, I am cancer free. Why do I have to do this again?" So that was tough. But I had another 5 rounds of chemo. Round 9, was the worst ever. I was in the hospital for inpatient. I was by myself because of COVID, and I called my dad crying. I said, "Come get me." I was just so done. I was so over it. I was so exhausted, so tired. I didn't wanna be away from my daughter anymore. Um, I know I'm jumping around now, but in between there, right after my surgery and before I finished chemo, my, husband at the time and I had split up. So we were dealing with all of that too. But I finished. I did all 10 rounds. My last round was outpatient, so it was quick. It was just a one-day thing. My oncologist, I was very grateful. He arranged it that way so that we like flipped. We had like 2 back-to-back inpatient so that then my last one could be outpatient and it could be quick and I could just go right home. So I finished round 10 of chemo on August 4th of 2020, and, so I had had surgery in April, and then I finished chemo in August, and it was a total of 9 months, like my doctor had said when I met him. He said it was gonna be a 9-month process, and it was. My oncologist wanted me to do 2 more rounds. He said, like, "Just to be safe, let's do 12 rounds instead of 10," and I said, "Thank you so much, but I'm done." Like, I just wasn't gonna do 2 more rounds. I couldn't do it, and I knew in my heart that God told me he would heal me, and so I didn't have any reason to worry. Now I'm gonna wrap this up by saying, um, I knew God healed me. That doesn't mean that I still didn't have doubts along the way. Any little pain, any little anything would cause me to worry. And I now recognize that as Satan trying to get to me and tell me that God is a liar and God is not a liar and he keeps his promises. Um, so our logo that I created for our playground is colors of the alphabet because of Acacia, because she associates colors with letters. It's called synesthesia. Um, but our alphabet, the word alphabet, let me see if I've got our logo right here. You can see. So it's a rainbow, and I only use pink. I don't use any red. I could do a whole video on my thought process behind our logo, but I made it so that it's a rainbow because God keeps his promises and he's keeping his promise to me, and I wanted to honor him in that way. So again, I know that he has healed me. I believe that I heard his voice in December of 2020, and I'm trying my best to do what he has asked of me because he has given me what he promised me he would do for me. I was going for my regular scans. They wanted me to do scans every 6 months, to just have regular checkups and make sure that I'm still all clear. Um, and my last scan in December 2021 was still clear, and I decided, "You know what? I'm not gonna have scans anymore. I'm done. I know that God healed me, and I'm not gonna worry about it." I know that there are so many people out there who have had cancer that live every single day fearing a reoccurrence, and I didn't wanna live like that. I prayed and prayed and prayed that God would take that fear away from me, and he has, And those were some pretty heavy chains that I was carrying around for a little while there, and I'm so glad he took that away from me, because, you wake up every day and you just wonder, "Is today gonna be the day where I have a pain again?" Because my pain had just come on so suddenly, um, and I'm so glad that I don't feel that way anymore. I don't get like that anymore. Um, Believe me, if I've got something going on for a little while, it is in the back of my mind, but I now recognize that, no, that is Satan, and he's lying to me, and he's trying to get me to believe that God is a liar when, no, it's Satan that's a liar. So I hadn't had a scan since December of 2021. I'm watching the front door. If someone pulls up, I will go open the door, but I'll just keep going until then, because it's 9 o'clock. I hadn't had a scan since December of 2021, and recently, I've had a little bit of pain in my, like, upper it started as, like, burning in my upper abdomen, and then, I kinda let it go, and about a month went on, and it got worse and worse and worse, and the pain started traveling, like, to my like, right under my rib cage, and it was really bad, and I thought, "Okay, well, I know it's not cancer," but, of course, in the back of your mind is the devil, like, "But maybe it is." And I'm like, "No, it's not cancer. It's not cancer." I tell him I talk to Satan all the time too, because 'cause I'm like, "No, get out of my head. It's not cancer." Um, but I finally Scott, of course, is like, "You should really go to the doctor." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't wanna go to the doctor. I just wanna, like, figure it out on my own and move on because I don't wanna." It's just this whole thing. So anyways, I finally said, "You know what? I need to go to the doctor." Um, so I went to urgent care last week and, told them my symptoms and told them my history, and the doctor gave me a good checkup, and he said, "You don't." He, like he, like, felt all around my abdomen, and he said, "You don't have anything hard, it's all soft in there." And I was like, "Well, thanks for that." I'm like, I know I'm soft, thanks." Um, but he said, "I don't think there's anything to be concerned about." Like, he said, "My gallbladder felt fine, my liver felt fine, everything felt fine." He's like, "But if you want, we can do a scan just to be safe." And he said, "I have a feeling it's just acid, though. I think it's just stomach acid." And he said, "But we," so I can he said, "So I can give you some medicine for stomach acid, or we can do a scan and rule it out." And I said, "You know what? It's really hard for me to come to the doctor because 'cause I'm a business owner and I have a special needs daughter. Let me just do a scan real quick." So they did a scan, they did blood work, and everything came back clear. There's nothing wrong with me. Every every organ in my body is normal. The scan results say unremarkable, which is a wonderful word in the cancer world, unremarkable. Um, so even my lab work turned out great. Um, and I'm always concerned about, like, sugar levels and cholesterol and all that. As you get older, you worry about those things. But everything was great. Everything was perfect. So it just reminded me that God is so good and he keeps his promises. And I just, I really hope and pray that anyone who has dealt with cancer and even autism, because those are my two big stories of my life, um, can give those burdens that they're carrying to God and pray that he will take them away, and I know that he will. So, I worry about Acacia because I'm a mom. It's understandable that I'm going to worry, and it comes with the title of mom, but I don't worry in a way that I used to. I don't like, I remember laying in bed at night when she was first diagnosed with autism thinking, "What does this mean for her life?" And now I can see her doing great things, and I've always known she was gonna do great things, but it's just like now I can actually see it. I can see her, um, talking to the woman at the ice cream shop and ordering her ice cream and saying thank you when I tell her, "Say thank you." Like those sorts of things that I didn't actually see in real life. I would see in my head, but now I see him in real life, and I could see her as a teenager, and I'm gonna work on that with her every single day of talking to the public and doing things to get her ready for the real world, and now I'm just going on and on and on, but I have been cancer-free since April of 2020 when my surgeon called me after surgery and told me, You are cancer-free. Your surgery was textbook. Your bone just slid right out." Those are just all words that are just music to my ears. And I'm just so grateful that God chose me. I don't know why, and I say I don't know why, but I also know that I've got plans. He's got plans for me, and I have a lot of work to do. I know that he's not done using me, and so I'm just constantly praying that I will go the way he wants me to go, and he can use me in the way he wants to use me. Um, so I'm just grateful to be that vessel for him. Um, and just because we're on the topic of cancer, I just lost a really good family friend. She had cancer. She was at my last chemo celebration. She came to celebrate with me, and then she was diagnosed with colon cancer shortly after that, and she fought for many years. She fought hard, and she didn't make it, but she left this beautiful turquoise necklace for me, and I'm gonna cherish it forever. So thank you, Alice Lynn. Um, Cancer is just an awful, awful thing, and it's tough because I don't think it's the same thing with autism. You know it's out there, you know it exists, you see people out there, "Oh, yeah, somebody in the community has autism, somebody in the community has cancer," but once it's close to you and it's in your own household, or it's like your brother or sister or daughter or mother or husband or wife or father or son, whoever. I don't know if I mentioned all the possible things there, but once it's in your house, eh, you don't understand it until it is. So I don't want anyone to ever have to go through cancer. Um, but I do think that it changed my life. I think it changed my outlook. I was a Christian before, but I think I live my life completely different now. Um, the way I believe, the things I believe, the way I handle situations, the way I pray and actually wait for answers. Um, I am very much a controlling. I like to be in control. I'm not like a control freak. Maybe Scott would argue that with me. Um, I like to be in control. I like to have my plans, and I have my planners and my to-do lists, and God just definitely showed me that I'm not in control. He is, and I try to remind myself that every day. So I hope that this helps someone out there, even if it just helped one person. I hope that was the case here. But I guess I'm going to open the door and make myself a cup of coffee and yeah, live my day in my beautiful life. Um, I do still plan on doing a video with Scott on Monday. Gonna try to figure out how to get that, learning how to be on camera together so we can tell the story about the playground and how we started it. And I get a lot of people that email me or message me saying, like, "I really wanna start a business. Can you help me? I really wanna," you know, they're, like, in different parts of the country, and they want to start something similar to ours, and, so I just kinda thought that maybe creating a video and sharing our story, and then we can just share the link with people when they do reach out, so hopefully it'll help people. Anyways, okay, well, thanks for watching, and, I hope you all have a great day, and yeah, I hope I didn't miss anything. I'm trying to remember if there's anything I missed, but if there is, anyways. All right, now I'm just rambling. Have a good one. Thanks for watching. Bye.